Okay, Pauline, how long have you lived at the Illinois Veterans Home?
I'm going into my 4th year.
4th year. And I understand you came here with your husband.
Yes.
And what was that transition like for the two of you?
All right. A little sad in a way because we had to give up everything, you know.
Yeah. Were you able to stay in the same building as your husband?
We were in the same building, but we weren't together, no.
You didn't stay in the same room?
Not until they said we'd have to wait for them to get an opening,
okay.
which we never got. Oh, they were packed. They jammed.
How far from home did you travel to live at the Veterans Home?
Oh, a good ways. We lived our hometown. Well, we were living in Chicago at that time, yeah.
Okay. Does your family still live there, or did they move closer to Quincy when you moved here?
They're scattered all over the country. I've got a sister, and a daughter in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my firstborn lives in California, about 25 miles northeast of L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the bush. Beautiful, just beautiful. And the one boy is married, and he and his wife have a real nice home.
Okay.
It's in Wisconsin. Yeah, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. How many kids did you have?
4.
4 kids. Okay.
2 and 2.
What are the major differences in your life now from when you first left home, would you say?
When I first left home? You mean after I was married, or?
When you left home to live at the Veterans Home.
Differences? Oh, like night and day. It seems strange. And even after all this time, every weekend I have to go over all the ads in the paper, especially the food ads, like I normally did when I had to do my own shopping.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can't do any of that. I don't cook, I don't bake, and that I miss.
Okay. You weren't in the military yourself, but your husband was. What branch of the military was he in?
The Navy.
And what was your husband's name?
Henry Joseph Kmack.
Henry. And why do you think that he chose the Navy over a different branch?
He loved the Navy. To him, that was a good, clean life. No laying around in a foxhole or anything like that. When you went to bed, you went into a clean bed. And Hank was a freak when it came to cleanliness.
Yeah. Okay, when and where was your husband born?
He was born in the same small town that I was. In fact, we lived on top of the hill and he lived halfway down. And now that may sound strange to you, but if you lived out there, you'd know why I said that, because it's all hills.
Mm-hmm.
And we were neighbors.
Okay. What did his parents do for a living before he went to the military?
Whose parents?
Your husband's parents.
My husband's parents? His father was a coal miner.
Interesting. Was any of his family in the military?
Oh, yes. Yes, he had 5 brothers, and every one of them were in the service.
Wow. Okay, what did Henry do for a living before he joined the Navy?
I'm trying to think of the name of that company that he worked for.
Do you remember what kind of trade it was? What it is that he did?
Oh, I could tell you it was on Kedzie Avenue near Archer.
That's okay if you can't remember. Did Henry enlist, or was he drafted into the military?
Oh, no. He went down the day that Pearl Harbor was attacked.
Oh, okay.
But you couldn't get into any of the places, they were closed.
Mm-hmm.
So he went back early the next day.
Okay, what do you feel made him want to be a soldier?
You mean a sailor?
A sailor. Yes, sorry.
I don't know. His love of the sea, I guess, of water.
Okay, did he enjoy his military experience?
Oh, yes. In fact, he always said if it wasn't for the fact that he met me and fell in love and got married, he'd have made a career out of it.
Do you remember any of his favorite parts, maybe, that he talked about with you of the military?
He liked what he was doing. He was a radio operator.
Okay. How did you meet your husband? Just through the family?
Well, now he was away from Duryea. That was our hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, he was 6 years older than I. So I had just graduated. And he was in on leave. And actually, he was a red-blooded Navy man.
How far into his military career was he when you met? Or started dating if you had met him previously?
Now, say that again. How far was he, what?
Into his military career. So how long had he been in the Navy already when you started dating?
He was in already for a couple of years.
Okay. Did you get a lot of letters and cards from him when he was gone?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what you call it, because you won't believe this, but I have every card, every letter, every telegram that he ever wrote or sent to me.
Can you remember a favorite one maybe that you got? All of them, probably.
All of them. In fact, I wish I had them here with me, but I don't. They're packed away. They'd have been a big comfort since he passed away.
Do you have a favorite story about your husband's time in the military that you can remember? Maybe a time you got to see him when he was home on leave or anything?
No, any time that I saw him, it was a favorite. No, he served. Now, he was in the United States Navy, but he served on merchant vessels.
Mm-hmm.
During wartime, the United States Navy have what they call the Armed Guard Service, and that's what the branch Hank was in. And they, during wartime, all civilian vessels, merchant vessels, had to carry Navy gunners and Navy radio operators.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was there. He wanted, believe it or not, he wanted to be since when he graduated from his class in the Navy, he was stopped by 0.1% is the point system. This other fellow beat him out by 0.1%. Can you imagine? He would have had his choice of anything that he wanted, you know, as far as serving went. That fellow beat him out by that much. And I think he said he probably would have asked for the aircraft carriers.
Aircraft? Okay. How long was he in the military? Do you remember how long he was in the Navy for?
Let's see, war was declared in 1941, wasn't it? December 7th, 1941, and he didn't get out until October of 1945.
Okay. Did your husband ever talk to you about any of his experiences while he was gone?
Some, but not much. Most men in the service don't really care to relive a lot of what happens. They just assume leave well enough alone.
Yeah. Whenever, maybe if he did, was it hard, do you think, then? It was hard for him to talk about it?
Sometimes I guess it felt good for him to get it off his chest, you know.
Yeah.
But he didn't talk too much about it.
Okay. Did he stay connected with anyone that he met while he served? Make any good friends that he kept later?
It was hard after the war. Everything was all mixed up. All these boys wanted to do was to get back to their old way of life. And I think the majority of them didn't even care, as long as they were back where they wanted to be.
Did he ever lose anyone close to him during that time that he told you about? Any friends or anything?
Did he what?
Ever lose any friends during that time?
He was very fortunate that he had those brothers of his in there, and thank God none of them.
Well, that's great. How do you think that the wartime experiences affected your husband's life?
I think it just made him all the more grateful for his country.
What did he do for a job after he left the military?
Well, every boy every serviceman was guaranteed his job when he went into the service. So that's where he went back to that job in Chicago. And he went back but he wasn't happy in that. He always wanted to work for Western Electric. And that's where he went. And he went there, and they were glad to get him, you know. So he was hired, and he worked at Western Electric until he retired.
Okay. Do you feel that you and your husband have been appropriately compensated for his time in the military with the Veterans Home?
They're taking good care of me. And for the short time that he was here, they took good care of him, but he didn't last that long.
Did he like it here?
Oh, yeah. That's why, believe it or not, we could have gotten closer to our families, you know, back in Pennsylvania, but he heard, I guess, from other fellas about this place, IVH, and he just loved it. I think what was on his mind most of all was after we got married, he wanted to make sure that I'd be looked after and that I would have a home. And I know that sounds funny, but that's the kind of a man he was.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you come here then before you needed to so that you could make sure you'd be able to live here, or did you come just right when he did?
We came together.
Together. Okay. What's an average day like for you at the Veterans Home?
Pleasant. I usually get up around 6:30 in the morning. If you don't, they'll get you up at 7. And they send somebody in because you can see I'm not capable. My legs are to help you get dressed and get you ready. And you go right to breakfast, to the dining room for breakfast. And after you have breakfast, you come back to your room and you get a schedule. If you'd like, I could show it to you. It's right near you.
I see it. Okay, are there certain activities that you would like to see them offer at the Veterans Home?
I'm pretty well satisfied. I think they have it covered pretty well.
They have movies for you to watch.
They have
and different...
movies. They have art classes and when your hobbies and things like that. They have all of that. And
do you have a favorite activity that they offer?
Yeah. I have my bingo. And I love the different programs, the activities put on, and they put on some good ones.
Okay. Have you been able to see the grounds of the Veterans Home, like the animal park?
Yeah, it's right close by, if you want to take a look.
Have you been down there then?
Oh, yeah. If you cross the street here and go down the hill and then go up the hill, you're on your way to it. And you can't miss it.
Have you been to, do you go to the church and stuff here on grounds?
Oh, yeah, the church is right here, honey.
Okay. During the summer they had a trolley ride. Were you ever able to take the trolley to see the grounds?
You can. They have them every weekend.
Are they still doing them right now?
As long as the weather was nice, yes, they had them.
When you go around on grounds, do the workers take you, or does your family?
Oh, the workers.
Workers.
They provide the transportation. I was looking around to see if I could see any of it, but you'd have to go more in. You see them. Oh, I don't know. I'm so dumb I can't describe them to you.
I understand what you're saying. Was your husband, now, back to your husband's military career, was he ever stationed overseas while you two were married?
Oh, he spent very little time on land. It was just trip after trip after trip. In other words, he was on merchant vessels that was transporting food and munitions, or if you were put on a tanker, it was oil or whatever, and you served for whatever term you had, whether it was 1 trip or 2 or 3, and back again.
What was the average amount of time he was gone at one time? Was it always a certain 3 months, 6 months, or was it?
There was one point there where he had a regular route between New York, I believe it was Brooklyn, and it was over the Atlantic to Ireland, Scotland, England, and the German submarines were very, very powerful and very strong. You really were in God's hands when you were traveling the ocean then.
Did he have a favorite port that they would go to? Did he have his favorite place to go? Not that he probably favored leaving all the time, but was there a favorite that he had where they went?
No, it was kind of a adventurous sort, and he enjoyed the different people. And
was he home now? You guys got married then when he was 2 years into the Navy. You got married at that 2-year mark. When did you guys start having kids?
right away.
Right away.
Mm-hmm.
So was
In fact, Marianne, our firstborn, was born 10 months and 2 days after we were married.
okay. Was he able to be home? No. Now, was he able to be home for any of the births?
Oh yeah, she was fast, but then it took another, 5 years? To get the second one.
Oh, so there was...
Yeah. And then there was 3 years after that, after the first two. Marianne was the firstborn, the one that's in California.
Mm-hmm.
And then after her came Jerry. And Jerry was born.
So your second
4
born...
years, I think it was, after Barney.
So the second and third child was after he was out of the Navy?
No.
No.
I have to think about it.
Sorry.
Oh, getting these 80s, boy. Whew.
If he left the military in 45, what year was your second child born?
45, and then Marnie was born in 46.
Okay, that answers.
And if I'm not mistaken, Jerry was born in 1950.
Did you guys ever, after he was out of the Navy, did you guys ever go visit any of the places that he had been during the wartime?
No.
No.
I've never been on the ocean.
You've never?
Not that way, anyway.
He probably didn't want to go back on the ocean after that. He'd had enough, maybe.
No, I think I always did want to go. Scared as hell, but I went. I would have liked to rather.
Yeah.
No, we never. Too many other things. You know.
Now, did any of your children go into the military? No. Do you have grandchildren?
Yes, I have great-grandchildren too.
Are any of them in the military?
No, they aren't.
No.
Uh-uh.
Now...
It's in the bottom there, the middle picture.
Uh-huh.
Or he's right above the thing. He's a great-grandchild.
Great-grandchild. How many great-grandchildren do you have? Just the one?
2.
2.
And then that's my youngest son over in this corner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a picture of Jerry up there. My oldest grandchild is all the way up there in the corner. The first picture with his wife.
Mm-hmm, I see it.
And children.
Now, while when your husband was gone for the Navy, what did you do at home while he was gone?
I worked.
Worked?
Oh, yes.
What did you do for a living?
You, David. No, during the war, I worked in the silk mills.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was working there when war was first declared. And we used to process the nylon for parachutes and silk. That's why you couldn't... You should see what a time I had trying to get a wedding dress. Because there wasn't any made during the war at all. All that went into parachutes.
Oh, I see. Now, while he was gone, did you stay in Chicago then the whole time that he was in the Navy?
No, I stayed in Pennsylvania until he came out. And then the two of us just packed up our gear and headed out to Chicago.
Okay, now he was in Chicago though when he enlisted, right?
Right.
And then you moved to Pennsylvania. Was there a reason you went to Pennsylvania?
Well, we lived there. We were born and raised there.
Oh, okay. So you were in Pennsylvania the whole time. He just lived in Chicago when he enlisted. Why did you choose to go back to Chicago? What was it about Chicago that you guys wanted to settle after the Navy? Work.
His mom, that's her,
Mm-hmm.
was bound and determined she was not going to see him go into the coal mines. And that's all they had.
I see.
And it was not bituminous coal, soft coal like you see them using around here. It was anthracite. And with anthracite, they say it's the next thing in hardness to diamonds.
Okay. Well, real quick, I'm going to... Do you mind if I zoom in on the picture of your husband on the wall in your wedding photo?
No, not at all.
Who all's in your wedding photo?
Oh, my maid of honor is Rose Delardy.
Mm-hmm.
Would it help if I pulled up those drapes, those blinds? You have to pull it up on this side, hon.
She got it, hon.
Oh, you got it?
So you're on the far left?
Yeah. And that's Hank next to me, and the next to me is my maid of honor. And her name was Rose Delardy. And the soldier next to her, that was Hank's best man. That was Joey Koypek. See, these boys were in on leave at the time.
Mm-hmm. So they were all in the military with them, all the boys that are in there?
And then that's Hank's baby sister next to Joey Koypek, Lucille. And next to her was Harold Rice.